The debate is over. The scientific community has spoken in a virtually unanimous voice. Climate change is real. Climate change is caused by human activity, and it is already causing devastating problems all over our country and all over the world. You don't have to look further than the water situation in California. You don't have to look further than what's going on in Pakistan, where people are dying from an unprecedented heat wave. The scientists are telling us loudly and clearly that if we do not boldly transform our energy system away from fossil fuels and into energy efficiency and sustainable energy, this planet will see a temperature rise of between 5 and 10 degrees centigrade with extraordinary negative consequences. What that means is more drought, more floods, more extreme weather disturbances, more acidification of the ocean, more rising sea levels. And what the CIA and Department of Defense tell us is that when people around the world don't have food because the land that they are working on is no longer arable, when they do not have enough water, this causes international security issues where people fight each other for limited natural resources. As a nation, we can. As a nation, we must lead the entire world in transforming our energy system away from fossil fuels. Let me just mention something to you that many of you know, and that is today, sadly, tragically, the United States of America is the only major industrialized nation that does not guarantee health care to all people as a right. That is not something that we should be proud of. It is something we should be embarrassed about. Despite the gains of the Affordable Care Act, 35 million Americans continue to lack health insurance, and many more are underinsured with high deductibles and high co-payments. Yet, despite all of that, we continue to spend almost twice as much per capita on healthcare as do the people of any other nation. In my view, this country must make two fundamental decisions with regard to healthcare. Number one, in America, healthcare must be a right for all of our people. Number two, if we are going to provide health care to all of our people in a cost-effective way, if we're going to take the burden of health care off the backs of small businesses, we need to move to a Medicare for all single-payer system. All of you who are here this evening, I think, have an understanding about how real change takes place in our country and has historically taken place. You are aware that change takes place from the bottom on up. It's never from the top on down. People on top are usually the last to know. You are all aware that 100 and more years ago, workers who were working incredibly long hours under horrendous working conditions said enough is enough. We're going to form unions and engage in collective bargaining. And as a result of those efforts, we created a middle class in this country. Workers had decent wages, decent benefits. And politically, because of millions of workers coming together, we passed Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and many other programs to help the American people. Because people came together. All of you are aware of the tragic history of racism in America. But for a very long time, African Americans and their white allies came together and they struggled and they stood up for justice and they stood up to lynching and they stood up to segregation and they stood up to a situation where African Americans couldn't even vote in America. And change came about, not as much as we would want. We know that we still have racism in America, but as a nation, we should be proud of the fact that in 2008, we elected the first African American to be president of the United States. But so many people stood up and fought for civil rights. It didn't happen because of a few. And when we talk about women's rights, we know that women, the suffragettes, Susan B. Anthony and all those folks went to jail. Some of them died, and they said women in America and around the world will not be second-class citizens. And that struggle continues to exist today. And then, in more recent history, we have seen gay people saying, we will not be discriminated against anymore. And a huge change swept the country, huge change in consciousness, and said that we are going to treat all of our people with respect and dignity, no matter what their sexual orientation may be. Last week, a very conservative Supreme Court finally made gay marriage legal in 50 states. We have a right to be very proud of the successes that we have seen because of the struggles of millions of people to create a less discriminatory society. That's something we should be proud of. We deserve that. But there is one struggle in which not only have we not succeeded, but in which we are losing ground, and that is the fundamental struggle for economic justice. I am in the Senate the ranking member of the Budget Committee, which means that I am the Democratic leader on that committee, and I want to give you an example. And I want to speak now, not just to the people in this room, but to working class and middle class Republicans in the state of Wisconsin. Because I want you to know what many people do not know. I want you to know what your party, the Republican Party, is doing in Washington, D.C. This is what the Republican budget did. And I know something about it because I am the ranking member of this committee. This is what it did. About 2 months ago, this legislation was passed. And this legislation sets the framework for what the appropriations committees will do later on. 35 million Americans have no health insurance. Only major country on earth without health care for all. Republicans decided to end the Affordable Care Act, cut Medicaid by over $400 billion, throw 27 million Americans off of health insurance. At a time when the middle class is struggling to send their kids to college, Republican budget over a 10-year period cut $90 billion from the Pell Grant program. At a time when millions of Americans are working 40 or 50 hours a week and are not earning the income they need to adequately feed their family, the Republicans made massive cuts in nutrition programs for hungry people and for children, including the WIC program, which is designed to protect low-income, pregnant women and their newborn babies. And then, after making massive cuts in healthcare, education, nutrition, and many, many other programs that working families depend upon, the Republicans decided to give over $200 billion in tax breaks to the top 0.2%. In my view, when we reach out, and what this campaign is about, is to reach out to working families all over this country, including Republicans. Because I believe that the Koch brothers and the Republican leadership in Washington has gotten away with murder for too many years. What they have done is try to divide our country up. Black versus white, native-born versus immigrant, gay versus straight. And what they have done is try to divide us. Our job is to bring people together around a progressive agenda that works for all of us. Go out, please, where we need most help. Not just in winning this election, but in transforming America, is to create a process by which people stop voting against their own best interests. Ask your Republican friends at work if they really think it makes sense to vote for people who are going to send their jobs abroad. Vote for people who will not raise the minimum wage. Vote for people who take health care away from their own children. And when we are successful in bringing our people, middle-class working people together, we will transform America. By saying this, if anything, what I would like to ask of you is please think big, not small. In Washington, the debate is often about whether we cut education by 2% or 6%, whether we throw this many people off of health care or that many, whether we give corporations this much of a tax break or that much of a tax break. That's not the worldview that we should have. Our vision should be that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. care to every man, woman, and child everywhere. We can make certain that every person in this country can get all of the education he or she needs, regardless of the income. We can create millions of decent paying jobs. We can have the best child care system in the world. In the last 30 years, there has been a huge redistribution of wealth from the middle class and working families to the top 0.1%. Our job is to reverse that, redistribute wealth back into the hands of working families. Now, in terms of this campaign, I am more than aware that my opponents will be able to outspend us. They have billionaire backers, they have super PACs, they have a lot of millionaire friends. But we are going to win this election. We are going to win this election because if we do our job well, if we develop the grassroots national movement that I know we can, at the end of the day, they may have the money, but we have the people, and when the people stand together, we can